Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Anna, and as you can tell by the title of this video, I am reading The Strength of the Few by James Islington, and I've started this vlog, a little bit late because I am 43% through, The Strength of the Few, and the reason why I decided to do a reading vlog is because this is one of, the most anticipated releases of this year, and I just really wanted to record, my reaction and really explain if I like the book, if I don't like the book, if it got better, if it didn't get better. But before that, I think it's very important to give the context of how I felt with The Will of the Many, the first book in this trilogy. I don't know if it's a trilogy or if it's 4 books, I don't know. But, in the hierarchy series saga, let's just say it like that. So I read The Will of the Many, I think it was in September, and the reason why it's because I wanted to go and jump on the bandwagon of the second book, and I knew, okay, it's coming out in November, so let me read it in September. And I read it, and I've never been more disappointed and enraged in a book like I did with The Will of the Many in a very, very long time. And hear me out. So I did enjoy the world building. I enjoyed the world building. I enjoy the story, the narrative, the writing. I think James Islington really excels at writing and at creating a very addictive narrative, because let me tell you, that book is freaking addictive. I always wanted to read, and whenever I started, reading The Will of the Many, whenever I picked it up, I never wanted to stop. I really didn't get, tired of reading like I get, for example, with George R. R. Martin's book. Not that they are bad, by any means they are not bad. Song of Ice and Fire is not bad. It's just sometimes, the prose is so dense that I need, a little bit of a break. But with James Islington, with The Will of the Many, that did not happen. So I think the narrative is very, very addictive. It is so well written. It is well structured. Everything makes sense. All of the plot twists, the plot lines, everything. But what I really think James Islington does not excel at is characters. Specifically, protagonists. Because let me tell you, this aggravated me so freaking much, because first of all, he doesn't have a personality, okay? He has the same personality as a wet rag, which is, it is what it is. It's fine. I actually don't really mind that, but what really, really, really bothered me was how much of a Gary Stu he was in the first book. He just knew everything. He was good at everything. He learned fast. He just knew everything and learned everything, quick enough for the narrative and the plot to move forward, which annoys me. It annoys me because there are no stakes in that book. I always knew that this was going to be fine, one way or another, and sometimes when something showed up, oh my god, this is so dangerous, you're gonna be fine. Like, bro, you are going to be fine. I know it. And he always was. Until the end. The end actually surprised me, because there is a very big consequence, a physical consequence that happens to him. And I actually got interested. I was like, you know what? I actually want to see you now in the second book, with this new impediment, how are you going to deal with this? But also what I was missing in the first book was also the magic system. I don't think it was that explored. There are a lot of rules, but I honestly did not understand anything. And if you ask me right now, like, oh, how does will work? No idea. I have absolutely no idea how it works. That could be me, though. That could be me. Maybe I didn't understand it. Maybe I didn't read it, with enough care. That could be me. But I did feel like it could have been explored a little bit better and explained a little bit better. So that's why, the first book to me was a 3.75 stars. So I was, disappointed. Not that it's a bad book by any means. It's not a bad book. But it is so overhyped and so overrated, and people rave about it so much that I was expecting almost perfection. Literally, I was expecting perfection. And it really buggers me how people don't mind a Gary Stu. I don't know why. I understand that, honestly, I do understand. I understand how people, some people can look past that flaw. I can't, okay? I just cannot, especially because it was so reoccurrent that I just could not get over it. Because I think and I believe that every single protagonist needs to have flaws, and this does not have flaws. That is my main issue. And you can say, oh, he does. He is very arrogant sometimes. He's overconfident. Yes, but he's overconfident and arrogant and sometimes, emotional at times where it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter because there are no consequences to it. So to me, he has no flaws. And when I started reading, The Strength of the Few, so let's go back to this second installment, in the first 30% or 35, I was hooked. And I was actually excited because it's actually very hard talking about this book without giving spoilers, but I'm going to try my very best. So, in the beginning of this book, we have 3 different plot lines. Exactly. And, in 2 of those plot lines, this is let's just say he's confronted with a situation that he does not understand at all. It is a completely new situation. He has never heard about those things before, and he's having a lot of trouble, and he had a lot of trouble getting used to everything, and the language, and the people, and the customs, the culture, and he was just like, I do not know what the fuck is happening. Like, literally, this was him. He's just like, I don't know what is happening. And I was very excited because for the first time I was like, oh my god, Vis is having difficulties. He is going through obstacles. He has to, navigate this world and he doesn't know anything about it. He doesn't know where he is, what's happening around him. And I was very, very excited. So for the first 30 to 35%, I was like, okay, I'm into this. But of course, the plot armor had to come and now he, again, knows everything. And it's just so aggravating to me. It is so aggravating because... Tell me, and I'm going to give this an example. I really hope I'm not spoiling anything, but if I am, skip, okay? Just skip this part. Imagine this. He was invited to a competition, okay? To a race. One of those chariot races from the Roman Empire, I think you know what I'm talking about. I'm going to put like a little clip here because I really don't know how to say this or explain this in English. But, these chariot races where they had the horses and they had to, do laps. Obviously, in this case, they don't have horses. So... this is what happens. He is confronted with this competition and he needs to win this competition. He actually does. If he wants to maintain his title as a... I can say it. Okay, I'm not going to say it. If he wants to maintain the title he gained in the first book. So, he has never watched a single race. He has never watched a single race. He has never participated in a single race. He doesn't even know the rules of a race. And... like I mentioned before, he has a very, very important physical impediment that actually puts him at a disadvantage even when using will, the magic system. So, tell me why he wins. Like, how are you going to win when you have such a physical impediment that gives you a very big disadvantage to the magic system? You have never seen a race in your life. You have never participated in one. You don't even know the rules. How did you win this? How? It's just so aggravating because at least the author could have made, because before everything, he was an orphan. He was living in the streets. Okay, in an orphanage, but he was walking around in the streets. You could have seen races. Like, the author could have done this. Like, oh, he saw races back in the day. But no, like, not even that, and it's just so aggravating because now I see this happening more and more and more, and it's just like, okay, yeah, he's really, and even in one of the other plot lines, where he was completely in the unknown, people, and mind you, this is a completely new world to Vis. He does not understand anything, and he's probably been in that world for 1 month, 2 maximum, and tell me, and he meets a very important character that, I'm not going to say because it is a spoiler, but he meets a very important character. And this character, he teaches him everything. He tries his very best because there's not really a lot of time. So he tries his very best to teach him everything that he knows. And he says, and I quote, "No person has entered that said city. It is impenetrable. Nobody can enter there without being seen, without being located. You are going to die if you enter there, but you have to go there. We have to find a way." And Vis does have a very clever plan. I'm not going to deny that, and I'm not. But it's just, why does everything go so smoothly? Like, everything just goes so smoothly. Like, this has been millennia, people. Millennia. For millennia, people have not been able to enter that city alive. Okay? And all of a sudden, Vis can, and everything just goes smoothly. And mind you, he's been hiding in that city for weeks on end. No, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Not even to mention that now we have, and this is what I like about the book. We have new ways of using will in these other plot lines, and I find that very, very interesting. But of course, Vis masters it in just a few weeks. Like, it's just so, like, when I say this out loud, it's so unbelievable. It's really unbelievable how this man, like, he's 19, mind you, I think. 19. I wish, my only wish, and this is what I'm wishing for Christmas, okay, is to have as much plot armor as Vis in this lifetime, because if I did, my life would be a breeze. Like, literally, our lives would be a breeze. And I know I'm criticizing this so much, but the reason why I'm doing it is because, when you're reading a book and you just find this one flaw and you just wish you could look past it, because if I was able to look past this flaw, this would be one of the easiest 5 stars I would have given a book. And that's why I'm so worked up and so emotional about this. It's because this could have been a 5-star, but it's not, because the author is making the exact same mistake he did with The Will of the Many. And I also get frustrated with myself because I can't look past it. Everybody else can, and that's normal. That is fine. Good to you. I want to do that, but I cannot. Like, I just simply cannot, because, again, I am so addicted invested to this story. I want to know what is going to happen. I am very invested in this narrative, in this plot. It's genius. Like, this plot, I am enjoying these 3 different plot lines. Even though I didn't really like the end of The Will of the Many, now I'm actually, you know what? It's actually a good ending. I'm enjoying the way that James Islington structured this book. I am just not enjoying Vis as a character, and I actually thought for a second that he had improved it, but he did not. Sadly, he did not. I'm just seeing everything again happening, you know, of just him being this Scary Sue unstoppable guy. And it's just, it really is painful, because I like competent characters. We all like competent characters. But what I don't like is a character competent at everything. You cannot. It is impossible. He's literally a one-man army, and that is aggravating me so freaking much, because even his friends, the secondary characters that I actually really, really like, they don't have that much of an important role, which makes me really, really sad. So, yeah, this is all I have to say for this first update. I am going to update you guys on the 75% mark, so please stay tuned. And honestly, I do hope this gets better, because if it doesn't, I might, you know, end my journey of the hierarchy here. promise, I'm here to give you guys another update on The Strength of the Few. I am 72% through, not 75 like I promised, but you know, close enough. And Honestly, I don't really know what to say. Let's start with the negative elements first. And just like I said before, I just think Viz is such a Gary Stu, and he pisses me off. Like, he genuinely pisses me off. And it's making this whole experience so much worse because I am genuinely, I get emotional about this. I don't know why I'm so emotional about this. This is reminding me when I read the Nevernight Chronicles by Jay Kristoff back in 2021. When I just knew I was going to love this book or that trilogy if Mia wasn't the way that she was. And in this case, it's the exact same thing. I know I would have loved these books if it weren't for Viz being, Gary Stu, if he wasn't this one-man army, because that's exactly what he is. He knows everything. Like, if I only had 5% of his plot armor in my life would be a breeze. Like, I swear to God, my life would be a fucking breeze. Because he just gets away with everything and he can just do anything, and it's so aggravating. So this man is still very much a Gary Stu, and I'm going to give you guys, some spoilers, so please move on ahead. Just move on. I'm going to give you some time for you to skip.
A few moments later.
Okay, I think that was good enough. So this situation, right? I'm not going to explain too much because I don't want to give, full-on spoilers, but Viz is in a very terrible situation because he is trying to, figure out. It's really hard to explain this because I really don't want to spoil anything, but basically, he has entered a city that is being watched by a god, okay? And he is constantly in danger because, he has to blend in with these people. He can't really pull too much attention to him. He has to blend in. But he also needs to, move forward and do what he needs to do. So there is just this one part that he goes inside a room that he's not supposed to go inside, okay? He goes inside the room, and because of the new powers that he has acquired, he can literally control people. Anyone, if he touches that person, he can tell that person, forget about me, or do this, do that, tell me about this, tell me about that, and the person cannot refuse. It's like he's invading the person's mind. And he enters this room, he finds a bunch of corpses, and he chooses one, and he asks all of the questions that he needs to ask, but he is actually caught. And he doesn't really understand how he's caught, but he's like, but I told the person, to forget about me, to forget that I was here, to forget about all the questions, but he sets off an alarm. And tell me why he can run away. How can you run away? First of all, because that is a very dangerous town. They have ever since the beginning of this book, it has been told to us that specific town is very dangerous. It is so dangerous for you to walk around because of this said god that is watching everything and everyone. He has control of everything, and it's just very hard for you to walk around and to post any resistance. So tell me how you get caught in this special room, the alarm sets off, you run away, you manage to defeat one of this said god's guards, which is fine, it is only one, and he was smart about it. But tell me how you can just blend in with the entirety of the people. Like, how does that happen? I understand that, he did tell the corpse to forget about him and his face and to make him, just make me into a priest. Like, just pretend I'm a priest, tell everybody else I'm a priest and that I can walk around. But an alarm was still set off, so people are still looking for you. I don't know, I just find it very strange how he just walked away like it was nothing. He just ran away like it was nothing again, and it's just so aggravating. It really, really is aggravating because I want to love these books. I want to love these books. I see the potential. I absolutely am enthralled by the narrative, by the story. But this is a one-man army, and I do not like it. Like, you have friends, people. It's not like he doesn't have friends and nobody likes him. He has friends. Why can't the author use his friends to help him out? I genuinely do not understand. Like, why does he have to do everything by himself? Why? It really is like he's a chosen one. In my opinion, this is a chosen one trope because he's doing everything by himself, basically. He does have some help here and there, but still, most of the things he's doing by himself. Anyways, I'm kind of tired of just repeating myself, so yeah, I'm not really enjoying that part, but, I think it was yesterday. Yesterday, I read a little bit more, and I was shocked. I was shocked by what I read. My jaw was on the floor. I was not expecting that. So, in one of the plot lines, let's just put it like this, the Empire is not as strong as it may seem, and there is kind of like a civil war brewing between the Catalan Empire. I think that's how I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but the Catalan Empire. So there is a civil war brewing, and some people want that to happen. Some people want that civil war to happen because it's going to further their goals. And obviously, that said person is going to use this. And this actually discovers that the military side of the Catalan Republic has done some very awful things, okay? From in the first book, okay? You figure it out, they have done some awful things. You figure out that they know much more than you thought they did, and a disaster occurs because in that said room, there are a lot of important senators. They all die. They all die. It is a massacre, people. And Vis is just there. He's like, what the hell is happening? Now, there's going to be a civil war for sure because all of the important military senators are dead. They were murdered, and now what is going to happen? Like, the military is obviously going to blame religion and governance, and both of them, they don't know what happened because they didn't do it. So now it's just going to be like this huge fight inside the empire, and we don't know what's going to happen. So I really, really liked that chapter. I don't know why. I just was not expecting it, especially because the said person that wants the civil war to happen, he just outed Vis's secret to everyone. He was just like, oh yeah, this person is actually that person. Why did you do this to him? Why did the Republic decide to invade his island and kill his parents and his whole family? So now Vis, he was left without a choice because when that person, just outed his secret, I was like, oh my god, now Vis has no choice but to act. And he did act, okay? He didn't kill, all of the people there, but he did act, and it was just crazy, okay? And this is what aggravates me because the story is so good. The story is so good. I'm always, on the tip of my toes trying to understand everything. And then in another plot line, we see that plot line is also advancing with the main plot. So it's finally catching up. And I don't know, like, I just cannot wait to know what the hell is going on and how this book is going to end because I don't know, I really wish we had more answers, and I do think we're going to have some answers, at least I think we're going to have the answer of, like, who is this god? Who is this god that is posing a threat to everything that Vis knows? So I hope that we're going to figure out who he is, or what it is. We don't know if it's a person, if it's something, we don't know anything. I do hope that happens, but yeah, I'm just very much enjoying the narrative, and like I said before, the writing is very, very addicting. Like, whenever I pick up this book, it is so hard to put it down, because you just want to keep knowing more and more and more, and every single chapter, James Islington ends with a slight cliffhanger, where I just need to know, like, just one more chapter. It's literally the meme of just one more chapter, and then when you look outside, it's already morning, and you're like, oh hell, I guess I didn't sleep, sleep is not that important. But yeah, I think it's so strange because this series, I actually don't know if I'm going to continue with this because it really does aggravate me. I see this big flaw, and the reason why it aggravates me a little bit also, it's because it's like nobody else sees it. You know what I mean? Whenever I talk about The Will of the Many or The Strength of the Few, people just say, oh, I love this series. It's amazing. It's an amazing fantasy book. Amazing. I've never seen it before. And I'm just like, do you not see that Vis is a Gary Stu? And then some people actually say, yeah, I know he is. And I'm like, how can you? Like, how can you move past this? I know some people can, and they don't mind, but I don't know, I just find it so aggravating because I'm like, why can't I? Why can't I just move past this and just forget that Vis is such a one-man army? Why can't I just enjoy this book like everyone else? It really does aggravate me because then I'm like, is it me? Like, am I the problem? I think I'm clearly the problem, but other people, like, how don't you mind this? How don't you see this big flaw? And what really baffles me is that people understand this flaw and they see this flaw, yet they still give the book 5 stars. And I'm like, but how? Because, for example, I love, for example, the Mistborn trilogy. I absolutely love Mistborn, but it has flaws, okay? I can admit that it has flaws. So it's not a perfect 5-star, but I don't know, it's just really aggravates me, and it's just making me way too emotional, and I don't know if I'm going to continue this series because even if the story is so good, and even the secondary characters, they are amazing, they just don't get the spotlight they deserve, in my opinion, and it just really makes me angry. Honestly, whenever I'm reading this series, it just makes me angry, so I don't know if I should continue with this or not, because do I want to feel this way in every single book? Because I am pretty sure that James Islington is not going to change this fact. So yeah, I actually don't know if I'm going to continue with the hierarchy. I need to see, I need to see the 3rd book. I think I'm just not going to read it, right away when it comes out. I'm just going to wait for some reviews, although, like I said, most reviews are positive. There was only one person that agreed with me and said that that's the reason why I gave it 4 stars, because Vis is such a Gary Stu. And I was glad, I was happy. I think it's always a little bit frustrating when you see something that other people either see or don't see, and it feels like you're the one left out. I'm the odd one, I'm literally the odd one, because every time that I see reviews of The Will of the Many, it's always a 5-star, and I'm like, how, like, please, is there nobody out there that also agrees with me? So I was really, really happy that there was this one girl that actually agreed with me and said, yeah, that's why I gave it 4 stars, which is frustrating. And, of course, you know, everyone loving it, of course, it's completely fine, and I understand that this book is so hyped. It's just, you know, I don't like feeling the odd one out, okay? I have FOMO, okay? I'm very sensitive, I have FOMO, and when I feel like I don't understand something, I just feel so sad, because I'm like, okay, I can't be a part of the conversation, you know? I can't be a part of this fan club, of this group, because I don't have the same opinion as the majority of the people. But it is what it is, you know? I'm still obviously going to continue reading this, and I am enjoying it, you know? If I look at it to the most part, I am enjoying my experience. It's just, whenever, you know, Viz does something that I'm just like, how? That's when it, you know, really aggravates me and I just want to pull the hair out of my head. But yeah, so it is what it is. I'm going to give you guys another update when I actually finish The Strength of the Few. So let's hope that the ending is really, really good and hooks me, because that is the only way that I might actually read, you know, the 3rd book whenever it comes out, like, immediately. Otherwise, I'm just going to wait for it and just see what people think. And I've actually seen, you know, a couple people saying that The Will of the Many is much better than The Strength of the Few. A lot of people are not really, or did not enjoy this one as much as the first one, which it's normal. I understand that happens with a lot of fantasy series. The first one is always, you know, discovering the world, discovering the characters, the story, everything, and it feels so much more personal in that sense, because the story is not, you know, as grand, so it doesn't stretch out as much and it doesn't grow that much. So it's understandable that the first book is always a favorite from the people, and actually that happens to me a lot too. So for example, the new Stranger Things season has come out, and I've only watched the first 2 episodes. I didn't do a whole rewatch of it, but, you know, even I know that the first season is not the best season. It's just not the best season in terms of story, characters, anything, but I just love the vibes of the first season, and I need to know if I'm the only one, okay? Please let me know down in the comments below if you love, you know, the vibes and the setting of the first season, because just... it's so weird for me saying this, but it's so cozy to me. Everything's so cozy. It's a small town setting. You know, we have some very eerie, creepy things happening. It's not, you know, outright horror. It's more like creepy things, and it's such a weird atmosphere. And just the whole disappearance of Will, of them discovering this new world for the first time and discovering these monsters, and just how the kids interact and deal with Will's disappearance, and how they really want to find his friends. And of course, the 70s vibes also is just completely perfect for this type of setting. So even if the first season is not the best one, like I said, in terms of plot or characters, it is the best one in terms of setting and vibes. So I absolutely love that, and I think that also translates into books most of the times, because we just love discovering the world, the rules, the characters, the story, everything. So it's not surprising that The Strength of the Few is not as, you know, loved as The Will of the Many. Although I actually did really like what the author did here with the 3 different plot lines, because, you know, with the ending of The Will of the Many, I was, you know, how is the author going to do this? How are we going to follow this and this, you know, new information that we have? So I actually really do like how he approached the ending of The Will of the Many and how he branched out this story. I still haven't found, you know, pacing issues. I've heard I think it was one person saying that they didn't really like the pacing. For right now, I don't think it's too fast. I actually think it's fine. I don't mind the pacing, so I'm, you know, generally enjoying it. I'm not going to read more though today because I have other things to do, unfortunately. So I will probably only read tomorrow, but I really want to finish this book this week because I've been reading it for, you know, this is the 2nd week, and I don't really like dragging books too long. So I'm definitely going to finish this book this week, and I will give you guys an update when I have finished it. And we have reached the end of this reading vlog, so that means that I have finished The Strength of the Few by James Islington. And before I even say anything, you can tell by my voice I'm sick, okay? I am very, very sick, and I was actually contemplating not really filming this update, but I really want to get a video out for you guys, so I'm really trying my very best here, but I am so sick. Like, I know we all hate being sick, but I especially hate when my throat hurts. Very rare to happen. You know, my throat rarely hurts this bad, but this time, I don't know what it is. I don't know what type of flu this is, but my throat is dying. It legitimately is, and obviously I do have a clogged nose as well, which makes everything even harder because I can barely breathe through my mouth and through my nose. So it has been very, very difficult to just even maintain, you know, sort of like an alive semblance, if you will. Like, all I want to do is just sleep, because that is the only way that I'm kind of okay, that my throat is okay, it doesn't hurt. But I'm still filming this update. We're going to keep it strong, keep it moving. We have to be consistent. And like I said, I finished The Strength of the Few by James Islington, and honestly, I have the same exact feelings that I did for the first book, which means that it's just okay for me. It is not going to be a 5-star. It's probably a 4 or 3.75, if I'm being completely honest. I still haven't really decided on the rating, because in this last part, in the 75%, in the last 75%, after the 75% mark, this is where I actually saw and understood the pacing issues that other people have mentioned, because, we do have 3 different plot lines, like I mentioned before, and there are 2 plot lines that they just have to, move very, very quickly in order to keep up with the other plot line. And this is where the pacing issues began, because there were a lot of things that happened that needed more time to brew, that needed more time to be impactful, and because the author had to speed everything up, it just ended up not being as impactful. It just really didn't. And I think there were a lot of moments where they could have been a lot more emotional than they were if they weren't so, sped up. So you do have some pacing issues in this last part. Now I understand why, because until this very point, I found no pacing issues at all. I think everything was well paced, everything was moving slowly. We were, slowly building up, but then, like I said, in this last 25% of the book, everything was just so fast, and there were a lot of things that they just didn't really make sense being fast, because if you're going to have a civil war, it's something that, brews over time. It is something that happens, and there were a lot of moments where the author was saying, like, oh, this character died, that character died, something happened to this character, and these characters were previously important in the previous book. It was supposed to have an emotional impact on us, I believe, but it really didn't, because it was just being told. Like, we didn't see these things happening, and it was just, it had to be this way. Otherwise, the 3 plot lines wouldn't converge into, I don't want to say converge into one, because I don't think that is ever going to happen. At least in the next installment, I think we're still going to have these 3 different plot lines. I don't think it would make any sense if we didn't. But because one plot line is particularly important, in order for the other 2 to keep up with that one, the author had to speed things up. So it had pacing issues, and of course, like I mentioned before several times at this point, Vis is just not a character that I like. I think he has no personality whatsoever. So that already makes it, a little bit difficult to like him. But the fact that he's just this one-man army that knows how to do everything, that is, really fast at learning things. He has such a big array of an education. It makes everything feel dull. You just don't really have any stakes. And I was never afraid for his life. Genuinely, I was never afraid for his life. I was never afraid for his missions, because I always knew that he was going to pull it off. I always knew there was going to be something that he was going to do, that he was going to find a solution, that he was going to be lucky in some sort of aspect, and he would just, breeze through everything, and that's exactly what happened. Now, this does not apply to the secondary characters, okay? The secondary characters, they are not safe at all. Like, the author is not afraid and doesn't shy away from harming, his friends, Vis's friends. But Vis itself, no. Like, he is just one-man army. He's a Gary Stu at its finest, and like I said, it just takes away from the story a lot. There are no stakes, in my opinion, because of this. I always know that he's going to be fine, like, what is the worst that can happen to you? Nothing, literally nothing, because if you die, you're not going to save the world. If something bad happens, it's just, I don't know, like, I don't know why the author doesn't really harm Vis that much, and doesn't, he harms him psychologically and emotionally, but how is it that you just have such an easy time doing things when nobody else has done these things for thousands and thousands and thousands of years? Like, you're not that special. Like, calm down. You really are not, There are probably people out there that have been much better at you, and they still couldn't do it. So, I don't know. It's just a pet peeve of mine, But I do see why people really, really like this story, because in my opinion, it is a very addictive book. It is such an addictive book. I think James Islington really knew how to write this type of book, because it ends with a cliffhanger, so you always want to read more, you always want to know more, and that really did happen to me. Every single time I picked up this book, I really didn't want to put it down. It was so easy to get into, so easy to get lost in the story, and I do think the story is very, very interesting. It is such, I don't want to say an original story, but it definitely definitely is a good one. Everything does make sense and everything is very cohesive, and I really, really enjoyed the structure that he used for this second book, the 3 different plot lines. I think it was something very smart to do. Now, is everyone going to like these 3 different plot lines? I don't think so, because, the academic feel of book 1 does not show in book 2. So it doesn't really transpire that way. So please don't think that book 2 is going to be as academic as book 1, because it is not, at all. But I did really enjoy, the different settings as well, because of the 3 different plot lines. There was one in particular that is my favorite, and I did like how he explained, the magic system and how it works in these 3 different plot lines. So I did think that was very, very interesting. So this is not by any means a bad book. It's just, it has flaws, it has flaws, and that really aggravates me, because a lot of people really loved The Will of the Many. A lot of people thought it was a 5-star perfection, one of the best fantasy books out there, and I just don't see it, and that's why I get so aggravated with these books, and that's why I don't even know if I'm going to continue with this series any longer, because it really does aggravate me. Like, I get very, very upset that I don't like these books, and the reason for that, it's because I see the potential. When you see the potential of something, and you're just like, okay, if only this wasn't such a Gary Stew, this would be close to a 5-star. Like, literally, it would be so close to being a 5-star, but because there's just one big element that I do not like, it's not a 5-star, and that's why I get so angry and aggravated at this book, because it's just like, you could have been perfect, you could have been perfect, but you're not, and I don't really know how to feel about this way. I just get so frustrated, so angry, and just so like, how, and then especially because there are a lot of people that gave this book 5 stars, but they also say, oh yeah, like, this is a Gary Stew, and they just don't mind it, and I'm like, how do you not mind him being a one-man army, getting away with everything? Like, how do you think this story has stakes? And I get really angry, because then I'm like, is it me? Am I the problem? Am I the drama? Like, am I the one that just doesn't see? And I get such FOMO, because I really wanted to be obsessed with a new fantasy series, and thank God I read A Song of Ice and Fire this year, because that was truly an obsession for me. But ultimately, I just don't really think this series is for me, and I don't know, like, maybe I will read the 3rd book when it comes out. I don't know, let us see. I don't know how much FOMO I'm going to feel at that time, but yeah, it was just very, very sad. But ultimately, I do have to give this book, either a 3.75 stars or a 4-star, which again, it's not bad by any means. It's just not according to the hype that people really give it, so it is kind of a letdown and a disappointment for me, but it is what it is. We cannot all like the same things. And please don't forget to subscribe and like this video, because it does help my channel out a lot, and it gives me a lot of motivation and validation to continue filming these videos for you guys, and I will see you on my next one. Bye!